Hello everybody and welcome to round number 13 of the 2022 GP4 Offline Championship. We are here at the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, just on the outskirts of Milan, for the Italian Grand Prix. 53 laps of action here at this famous circuit, the third of three cornerstone races of the season. I am JW97 and just like yesterday in qualifying, I am joined by Kurisu.
Hello, how are you doing everybody? It's good to see you.
Yep, indeed, and hopefully we should be in for a good race. From what we saw from the F2 race yesterday, hopefully the top class can produce a good race as well. But I think without further ado...
Well, F2 was pretty chaotic. It's time to take a look at qualifying results and the grid.
Indeed, so 4x4 as per usual. So, on pole position then, for the 9th time in his career, it is George Roque in the Red Bull, followed by Evan Byrne in second, a third consecutive Red Bull front row lockout. Then, surprise, surprise, the two Lamborghinis lockout row 2, with Rahul Patel in third and Laura Chung in fourth.
Team Principal KSI will be delighted. Chris Chatfield is fifth in the Ferrari, hoping to do well in the yellow car, with the two Mercedes of Armarca and Franco Lopez next. After that, it is Roman Quag in P8.
We have Kirishima De Rosa, a great effort for him to get the McLaren through into Q3 in 9th, with Jesus Perinen thanks to a crash in Q2, starting in 10th. Bartosz Kloss, the winner of the Belgian Grand Prix last week, starts in 11th, with Jake Galloway in 12th after getting held up by the two Hasses.
After that, it's Minklos Gal in 13th and David Kupok in 14th, the 12 with Tauris. There is Michael Mocha in 15th and Mens Waldinger crashed out in Q1 in 16th.
Joseph Willows missed out on Q2 in 17th, with Jamie Griffiths in 18th. Amelia Wilson starts in 19th for Alfa Romeo, with Felix Sontag in 20th position. And on the back row of the grid, Kurisu?
It's Jonatas.
I think Kurisu might have had a bit of an issue there with his microphone because she's cut out there. So on the back row of the grid, we have Ioannis Martins and Andre Videra.
Martins is 21st, and then
yeah, that's that really. As my headphones are going to start to die on me. So before the race starts, let me just quickly change my headphones, as we're going to have cloud cover for the race, but no rain expected. Let me just quickly change my headphones before we start the race. Oh, perfect timing there from my end. I really apologise for that.
Can you hear me this time?
Yeah, we can. I'm just changing my headphones before we start the race because already technical gremlins are underway.
Oh no.
Let's try this then. So, we might as well then, after all those technical hiccups, we might as well get underway then for the Italian Grand Prix, and hopefully it should be a good race. And as per usual, whenever Kurisu is in the commentary box with me, I'll hand over to her for the start of the race.
Thank you very much. Now let's do this. It's a long run down to the first corner, so plenty of things can happen. I expect a change of leadership to be possible. Byrne or maybe even one of the Lambos could try to take the lead from Roque at the start, so it'll be very entertaining. So then, here we go. Roque on the left of the screen, Byrne on the right. Who's going to get a better run in towards turn 1 and lead this race? Roque has 29 laps of fuel, and we're waiting for the 5 red lights. Here we go. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. And we're racing in Italy. Good start from the front too, though I think Roque's got the slightly better getaway. Byrne is under pressure from a Lamborghini as Chatfield trying to make up places. In towards turn 1 we go. And look at the Lamborghinis. They're all swarming past Evan Byrne, but George Roque leads. Roque leads after the start. The Lamborghini's up to second place. That being Rahul Patel, as we got a crash already.
Yeah, indeed. There was a little bit of contact there between Patel and Roque there, with a good start for Patel. We've had a crash in the first corners. Meanwhile, Byrne tried to attack the Lamborghini again into the second chicane. Down the inside goes Evan Byrne. Can he retake the place? No, he can't. Patel is around the outside, goes on Car. Can't make it sick. I didn't quite see who it was that crashed out there. The graphic came up a little bit too quickly. It's damage there for Galloway and Kupok. So Galloway and Kupok have had damage, as has one of the Hasses, I think, as well. So damage at the first chicane, and who was the one that was out?
Pandemonium there at the start. Let's see what happened exactly.
And as you can see, who's the one's out? That's a McLaren, that's Joseph Willows, because Kirishima De Rosa was further in front. So for the second race in a row, Willows is taken out at the first corner.
My goodness me, let's take another look at Kupok's POV. And he got pushed from behind, I think. Yes.
Yep, he got wiped out right there then as, well, Verderi got a little bit pinched there while trying to negotiate all that through. But let's see it from Amelia Wilson's perspective, who she was down at the back of the field. And as you can see, of course, there's Willows just on the left-hand side there, and coming into that first chicane, and oh, it was just a bit of a concertina. How on earth Wilson hasn't got any damage from that, I have no idea. But yeah, pretty much craziness at that first chicane, and a few drivers are going to have to pit for damage, including one of the Haas drivers. Not sure which Haas driver that is has got damage. Michael Mocho, so once again for the third race in a row, he sustains damage on the first lap.
That's not good news.
Oh, indeed, as 3 cars will have to make a trip back to the pit for damage as a result, and, well, that's pretty much that, really. But anyway, Rogan and Lee with a very comfortable margin out in front, of course, as Byrne was not able to get Patel, but he's got Amar Khan breathing down his neck. I'm not sure where Lopez is in all of this, because he was also had a pretty bad qualifying. He dropped a place at the start. He's down to 8th, but he's all over the back of De Rosa. Meanwhile, Carr on the inside now. On the inside of Evan Byrne, is it going to be P3 for the Mercedes driver? It is. Carr up into 3rd place. Chatfield in P5 as Lopez now takes 7th from De Rosa at the Ascari chicane. But all this is allowing both Patel and Roke to pull away out in front, as it looks like we're going to have 3 wide heading into the Parabolica here.
Surely not. Can Chatfield make it work? Here he goes. Yes, he can make it work, but Ka will try to counterattack. He's got great traction here using the full grad of that Mercedes engine, and Ka stays in front for the time being. Roke says the early fastest lap, as we almost got a 4-wide moment there. Byrne and Chung trying to get involved in the battle as well, but Ka's ahead. Here goes Chatfield. He's going to send it into turn 1. Ka closes the door. They make contact, and Ka is pushed wide. Chatfield is out.
And that was always going to end in disaster because they were all moving about all over the place. There's damage as well for Evan Byrne as a result of all of that as well. I think a Renner might have also got damage as well. And yeah, Roman Quagga's got damage as well. But I think you could just tell that was always going to happen at that first chicane, given that everybody was just moving about all over the place. And the people that got damage on the first lap are now into the pits. But yeah, I think Yuri said to us before the start of the race that because of how quick these cars are, it was kind of expected really that we could have some chaos in the early stages of the race.
Yeah, Chatfield tried to go for the move. You felt confident on the inside, but just turned into Ka.
Indeed, and well, I don't know if any penalties are going to be implied with that one, but yeah, Ka, you could say, yeah, he definitely moved on the braking there at that whole point. That was very dangerous driving there from Amar Khan, and then it caused the whole concertina there.
All right, 10 seconds.
Information by Yuri there, a 10-second time penalty for Amar Khan for that dangerous driving, which caused all that concertina at the first corner for basically moving on the braking there. So that's pretty much that. So Khan with a penalty, basically cutting the chicane there to hold on to the place and avoid all that chaos. But yeah, Khan with a penalty, and well, that's pretty much that really, as he makes a trip across the chicane. All that is allowing Roke and Patel now to pull away. As, yeah, he gained quite a lot of time.
He got away with the corner cut, it seems, but not with the penalty.
I think Chung is now... No, that was my mistake. That's the other Mercedes who's on the back of the Lamborghini. This is Franco Lopez, who's now on the back of Laura Chung. With Byrne, who's got damage, this could be an opportunity for Lopez to pull away in the championship as he takes 4th now from Laura Chung into the Ascari chicane.
Sontag is trying to pass Byrne. He's got him, and Sontag is up in the 9th place. What a brilliant start for the Williams.
All the chaos that has happened in the first couple of laps here, and he's taken full advantage. He's now into 9th place in that Williams, but it's still Roke who's in the lead of the races. Meanwhile, it looks like Kirishima De Rosa is also taking advantage of all this chaos. He's currently in 6th, and now trying to close up onto Laura Chung, as I'm not sure who that was that just flashed up there to say they got the fastest lap of the race, but either way...
Has to be Roke.
Either way, a lot of movement from down the field thanks to everything that was kicked off in this race. Meanwhile, some more side-by-side action going on here as Griffiths now trying to look on the inside of this Johannes Martins into the first chicane. Down the inside goes the Williams driver, and he gets the move stick. Up into 12th place goes the Welshman.
Federi is going to try to do the same around the outside, and I think he's just done it.
The Italian fans will definitely be happy with that one, as that was a great move there for Verderi on his teammate Johannes Martins, although Martins is going back in the slipstream now then of his own teammate, but Verderi shuts the door and prevents him from going for a move, so he holds on to P13 as a result of all of that. As you can tell, Sontag gaining 11 places. Oh, bit of understeer there from De Rosa coming out of the second Lesmo as he tries hard to chase down Laura Chung.
Yep, that's right, and Chung is doing all right in the straight lines. She's got good top-end speed, it looks like.
Yes, now we come around the Ascari chicane. Now they're making his way down towards the Parabolica. As you can tell, everything's now mixed up now down the field. It's Burning 17th, Galloway 18th, Quark down in 19th after he sustained damage as well. In fact, make that 20th because Kupok has just overtaken him. Roke with the fastest lap of 1 minute 18.166, and he's got a very big lead in front of Patel, 4.2 seconds to be exact.
Well, you wouldn't expect the Lamborghini to be able to keep up with the Red Bull. Nevertheless, this is very decent pace from George Roque, and it appears Ska, who is his main threat in this race, even with the penalty, can't keep up as Griffiths is gaining onto Ben Zwalinger. He's going to try to go for the move. So is Martins on Wilson. The two are fighting each other. I assume Wilson got him into Parabolica, but now Martins has retaken the place, and Wilson almost crashes into the back of him. That was quite close.
Yeah, very close indeed, and I think you are right there because on the timing screen down the bottom it said Wilson moved up to 14th, so I presume she did get him initially into the Parabolica as Kloss tries to have a go at Sontag into the second chicane. They're not going to work out. Of course, Kloss started down in 11th place. Oh, Kupok's out! He's had a crash at Parabolica, and it looks like it might have been a driver error there for the German driver. Where is that wheel going? Meanwhile, it's bouncing right next to him there, but David Kupok is out of the race, and I think this might be a driver error here, Felix. Sorry, what the hell am I talking about?
I told you before the race in our little chat that I wanted Felix to do well, and now you're calling me Felix. But yeah, this was a clear crash. He just couldn't control the car, understeered into the wall.
Indeed, and Roman Quark was very lucky he didn't sustain any damage from all of that. We could see it from his perspective, and yeah, a clear driver error there from David Kupok, and whoa, that was very close there to another trip to the pits for Roman Quark, but thankfully he just about avoided that wheel there. But again, I'm still wondering where on earth that wheel is, because George Roque is approaching the Parabolica there. Whereabouts is that wheel gone with David Kupok? There it is on the track, and he's lost his front wing in the process. And Roque has got to
Patel leads.
Is Patel going to lead though? Because I don't know where that damage has gone. And he will do that. The front wing is away from the track. But Patel is leading the race. And for the first time since Brazil last season, Patel finds himself at the front at Lamborghini's own race.
What a disaster for Red Bull. This is a golden opportunity for Mercedes. And Roque has to make an impromptu stop. That will alter his strategy quite a lot.
Indeed, as Roque now, then where's he going to rejoin? A disaster here for Red Bull. Both drivers have had damage in the opening laps for two separate reasons, of course, as Kupok's car now gets hoisted over the bows. The yellow flags have now been lifted. But yeah, Roque's race is now a disaster. That means that both Williamses are now into the points because Griffiths is now up into 10th place. Roque rejoins in 15th after he losing his front wing. But yeah, we've got a very strange leader at the moment in Rahul Patel. I say strange because he did lead last season, but given that Lamborghini, of course, have not had a brilliant car this season compared to last season, it's quite strange to see a Lamborghini at the front, but he leads the race, but he's only got a 2.9 second cushion ahead of Car, who, let's not forget, has got a 10-second time penalty.
What's Lopez's pace like, I wonder, though, because I don't think he has the pace to fight with Patel, as De Rossi is going for a move on to Pernin here in towards Variante Ascari. He's got him, nicely done. Up to 5th place goes the McLaren. That's not something I thought I'd say this season.
I think Perinin actually got him earlier on the track, judging from what I saw on the minimap. But Perinin now trying to get back, but he's also got Mikolas Gal on the inside in the Alpha Tauri. Down the inside he goes. He can't make a second. Of course, Gal took his first ever victory in the top class here back in 2008 with this team. And of course, this is Alpha Tauri's last ever home race. So hoping to try and give the team a good send-off at the home race before, of course, they end up at the final race, of course, in Argentina. As Perinin just blast past Kirishima De Rosa there onto the straight. You can tell how much straight line speed
Isn't the final race in Abu Dhabi?
Abu Dhabi, sorry, not Balcarce. I do apologise. But you could tell there with the straight line speed with Perinin just how quick that Renault engine is in the back of his car compared to the BMW. Or it could be a case of him setting that car up pretty well onto the straight. But 1.7 seconds is the gap between the two Mercedes that you were wondering about a little bit earlier, Carisso.
Yeah, and Lopez has set a personal best lap on the previous effort, so his pace is decent. Of course, with Car's penalty, that puts Lopez virtually ahead. But he'll want to get the move done on track as well. This is a golden opportunity for Lopez, and he can't afford to squander it.
Indeed, as it's now down to 1.9 seconds, so Car is gaining onto Rahul Patel at this stage. You would expect that, given the Mercedes has got a little bit more pace than Lamborghini overall, but looking at qualifying yesterday, you wouldn't have thought that, but clearly the race pace, the Mercedes have turned up with something, and in fact, Laura Chung is in fourth, so far, both the Lamborghinis are currently in the top four at the moment. Patel leading with Chung in fourth position. Meanwhile, Roque trying to carve his way back through the field now. Then he's on the inside. He will have to pit again, judging for his fuel load, and he gets up into 14th past Amelia Wilson, but yeah, he's got a bit to do if he wants to get himself back in this race.
Looks like the two Williamses are going to battle. Griffiths is on the 2-stop, and he's gaining on his one-stopping teammate Zontag.
Is indeed 1.7 seconds now, the gap between Patel and Carr. Of course, let's not forget that Carr does have a 10-second time penalty for that crash that happened on lap 2 with Chris Chatfield and Evan Byrne, and also Roman Quagg as well, because he obviously sustained damage from that whole endeavour as well. But anyway, it's also still 1.7 between Carr and Lopez. So Lopez is actually also keeping up with Carr. So basically, Carr gaining onto Patel, he's actually dragging Lopez as well with him.
Yeah, he's gaining a little bit of slipstream from that distance onto his teammate, and it's helping him gain. But he is driving quite well, I think.
Indeed, as they now make their way down towards the back straight, 1.6 seconds of the gap, and you can tell how much the two Mercedes are now closing in on Rahul Patel. Now it's down to 1.3, so Patel may need to keep an eye on his mirrors in just a little bit.
He will be under pressure soon, and I don't expect the overtake to be difficult, as now Griffiths is going for the outside of Felix Zontag, has to back out, and this could allow Waldinger to get into contention. No, not quite.
Yeah, indeed, as they make their way through into the Ascari chicane now then, as now heading down straight before approaching Parabolica. Griffiths again opting to go for the outside, clearly having more traction than Sontag coming out of the Ascari, but clearly Sontag shutting the door. Luckily they've got enough of a gap to Waldinger in front to make sure that Griffiths doesn't lose the pace, but now surely Griffiths is going to have a run here on Sontag down the pit straight.
You would expect that. He's got a decent exit here, and he should be able to get him.
Side by side go the two Williams drivers now. Then Griffiths needing a good result if he wants to stay in the top class next season, as they go side by side heading down towards the first chicane, and Griffiths gets the move done. Sontag doesn't put up too much of a fight, and Griffiths is up into 9th place. Now Sontag...
Look how much Waldinger has gained.
Yeah, because of the wider line that Sontag has taken, so now he's got to be aware of Waldinger very soon, and Waldinger's going to have a run here towards the second chicane.
He's gonna go for it. Sontag, will he close the door? And I don't think so. Waldinger is going for it. He's going to take the place, and he's up into the points.
P10 now for the Hungarian. Waldinger did score points last time out in Belgium, and he wants to try and add some more for Alfa Romeo if he can. But so far, we've got De Rosa up in, I think it's 6th or 7th position at the moment. So at the moment, McLaren would actually get ahead of Alfa Romeo in the Constructors' Championship if it were to stay like this. But still quite a long way to go in this race, and we still haven't got to the pit stop. I think, apart from the guys who've got damage, I think everybody is on a one-stop here today due to the hard tyres and, of course, the new strategy system.
Griffiths is on it too.
Well, was he? Well, I didn't actually see that, but it seems the majority are on a one-stop, judging from the hard tyres. And now Kloss is on the inside of Miklos Gau, and he gets the place there, so he's up into P7 now. Goes the Belgian Grand Prix well, but I think Gal is going to try and line him up again down the pit straight.
He's got good train line speed in that Honda, and he's going to use it to its full effect. He's going for the move here. Can he get it done? In towards the first corner we go under braking. And yeah, he's got it done, no problem.
P7 from Miklos Gau as he gets back ahead of Bartosz Kloss. Of course, that was the top two, of course, at the last race in Belgium. It's Verderi now on the inside of Sontag, and Verderi now takes P11. There is George Roque, who's now up into 13th place, so he's now caught up to these guys, and he's not too far away from the points as a result.
He's got Martez. Next target for him is Sontag.
Carr is now close to the back of Rahul Patel's Lamborghini now. Then it's now 0.6 seconds the gap, and 1.4 between Carr and Lopez in the meantime, as they now go up towards the Ascari chicane now. Then, of course, Carr has won here for the past 2 seasons, of course, but I think given the 10-second time penalty he's got, he'll need to dig deep if he wants to finally get his first win in 2022, as he now makes his way towards Parabolica now then, and if he gets a good enough traction out of that corner, you might expect him to try and go for a run down the pit straight.
Well, 2/3 of his competition for the win has been wiped out. He's only racing with Lopez here. Patel is just a stopgap that he's going to need to pass quickly, and he is doing, as Roque has overtaken Sontag. Brar Marca takes the lead of the race.
Yeah, indeed, as they make their way into the first chicane, already with the overlap, and Carr takes the lead on the road, of course, not officially because of his penalty, but Carr does lead the race on the road, and now Patel will have to keep an eye on the other Mercedes behind, that being, of course, championship leader Franco Lopez.
Yeah, Lopez will want to get it done quickly. He can't afford to waste time. He doesn't want to let Carr pull a 10-second gap.
Meanwhile, Martins is now having a go at Sontag. He seems to be going backwards at this stage. Is Martins going to go later on the brakes of the first chicane? He is thinking about it. Down the inside goes Martins, and that's P13 for the Brazilian. Of course, those two, of course, fighting for that second Renault seat at the moment. And so far, Martins getting the move done into P13 in the Aston Martin. And, well, Sontag just at the moment seemingly going backwards right now.
Lopez on towards Patel, but not enough right now. He's going to have to wait.
Yep, indeed, as they come around the Ascari chicane, I think just like with Armar Carr, he's possibly waiting for the pit straight as well to try and get the Lamborghini drivers. They now make their way towards Parabolica now they're on the racetrack as there is Lord Chung in the background. But meanwhile, we look at George Rote now, then is on the outside of Andre Verderi. Is he going to get the move done on the Aston Martin? No, he's not. He had to back out of that one. But now we head back to the battle for second place. Is Lopez close enough to go for a move? I don't think he is. I think he didn't have the traction there, so I think Patel will do just enough to stay in front at the first chicane. Is now back with George Rote, who's now on the inside of Andre Verderi for P number 11, and then he'll just find himself one place away from the points. Down the inside goes George Rote in the Red Bull, and he's got the move done, but I wonder if Verderi will try and get him back on the pit straight.
That was fairly easy. I don't think the Aston has the straight line speed to make an overtake like that work. Roke has already pulled away substantially.
While Lopez is now getting close now to the back of Rahul Patel. Into the second chicane we go for the left and right-hander. Will go the pair of them as the car not too far away in front at the moment. Through into the first two Lesmos we go. Well, it is the only two Lesmos on the track. I don't know what I was talking about there. But anyways, now coming out the second Lesmo as now Lopez is going to get a run here on Rahul Patel into the Ascari chicane. Is this going to be P2 on the road for the championship leader as Lopez now on the inside of the Lamborghini driver, down the inside into Ascari, and pretty simply Lopez up into second place. Officially the lead, of course, because Carr has that 10-second time penalty.
I'm not sure if he can pull away. What's the difference in fuel load between the two Mercedes, though? I want to know. Lopez has 23, Carr has 19. So Lopez will have an overcut, but he just needs to keep within 10 seconds of Carr and he's won this race.
Brendan, meanwhile, is on the back of Laura Chung, so there's a fight for fourth place going on there between the Lamborghini and the Renault, as now Roke is only right behind Valdinger for the final points place. Perinen, has he got enough traction to try and get the Lamborghini this time by as the Renault driver onto the pit straight, tries to get in the slipstream of Laura Chung. These two, of course, along with Joseph Willows and Miklos Gau, fighting for that second Mercedes seat at least, if Carr, of course, gets retained or not, but maybe to potentially be teammates next season. We don't know with Mercedes. Perinen wasn't able to get it, but George Roke did get Bence Valdinger according to the timing screen on left-hand side there, so Roke is now back into the points.
Must have been pretty easy.
It must have been at the same place where he overtook Verderi at the Parabolica. So yeah, he's back into the points. Next target for him is Jamie Griffiths in the Williams.
Yeah, indeed.
Now we look at Jesus Perinen now then, who's on the back of Laura Chung. Looks like he'll be trying to prepare for a move on the Lamborghini, perhaps into a sky. Thought about a move into the second Lesmo there, not going to work out, and now gets better traction, looks to the outside.
Not around the outside.
Not going to work out there. Laura Chung's going to hold it, but he flicks it back to the inside very quickly. Can he outbrake the Lamborghini driver into the Ascari chicane? The answer to that is no. Chung holds on to the place, and Perinen loses all the momentum in the world as a result.
Yeah, his line was massively compromised. He's gonna need to wait a lap or two before he can try again.
Indeed so, as they now make their way out of Parabolica now then on the racetrack, as now heading onto the pit straight now then, as Carr now sets the fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 18.121, so Carr holding on to the bonus point at the moment for the fastest lap of the race, but of course he needs to build a lead if he wants to take his first ever victory of 2022 and get himself right in the contention for the Drivers' Championship with Bernard Lopez.
It's easier said than done.
It's easier said than done. You are absolutely right about that one. As you see just how close the two Mercedes are in terms of pace. Now Roke has snatched the fastest lap away. So now Roke holds on to the bonus point for the fastest lap of the race. Meanwhile, teammate Byrne on the inside of Michael Mocha, but can't make it stick into Parabolica. He's now possibly waiting for the pit straight to try and get the move done. As now Byrne on the inside of the Haas drivers that go side by side heading down the pit straight now then. But looking at the straight line speed of the Red Bull, I don't know if Byrne has set it up incorrectly down the straight, because look, Mocho getting away again, but later on the brakes for Byrne.
Great dive.
Great dive for him. He needed to do that, and he's up into 16th.
Yep, he's got a few more places to gain if he wants to get some points, but he is making steady progress. Byrne is up in the fourth meanwhile. How did he get Chung?
Must have been at the Ascari chicane. I think it just happened right now, in fact, and yes, yeah, it is. So a good move there from Jesus Perinen, and he gets the move done into fourth position.
Good stuff. Next target for him is Rahul Patel.
So Perinen currently flying right now and trying to make a wins after he crashed out in Q2 thanks to an incident that happened at the Parabolica. Meanwhile, Roke is now caught up to the back of Jamie Griffiths now then. So a fight for ninth place is starting to brew now then as he makes his way down this straight before heading toward Parabolica. I wonder if he'll try and get better traction out of that final corner compared to the Williams. We know that the Williams is on paper the slowest car on the grid, but let's see if Griffiths can try and fight it out or not. But Roke with insane traction coming out of Parabolica, and he's going to get a run here on the Williams, I believe.
This should be the move. Let's see. Look at the straight line speed, 362. That's another fastest lap. He's going through 1 minute 17, so he's going for the move now. Griffiths feels the need to cover the door, but Roke makes it work brilliantly. That was a great overtake.
I honestly thought for a minute there they were going to collide, but thankfully the pair of them kept it clean, and Roke is up into ninth place. Very aggressive, but he needed to get the move done, and he's now up into ninth. Next target for him, Miklos Gal in the AlphaTauri.
That was a Max Verstappen kind of dive from the Red Bull driver.
Well, he is in a Red Bull, so...
That's exactly why I said it.
Yeah, indeed. So anyway, is now going up towards the Ascari chicane now. Then got the two Mercedeses as it's still 1.8, and you do get the feeling that both the Mercedeses are lapping the same sort of pace as each other at the moment because their gap has been consistent throughout the race so far.
Just a few minutes ago, the gap was 2 seconds, so 1.8 now means Lopez is actually faster despite being fueled heavier.
Yep, indeed, as now we ride on board with Lopez, who might actually take the fastest lap away from George Roke here, if he's lucky enough, although he did lose time in that middle sector compared to George Roke. So let's see, as Lopez crosses the line, and he doesn't snatch the fastest lap. He loses time in the last sector, so Roke currently holding on to that, but he's still 1.8 seconds between himself and teammate Armar Carr. But officially, Lopez does lead, of course, because for anybody who has just joined, Carr does have a 10-second time penalty. So just bear that one in mind, as now they come around the curve. Griffiths is out!
Griffiths is out!
That's another driver error at Parabolica.
Or is it a problem?
I don't know. It doesn't say it is, because otherwise the red indicator would have come on the DEF panel. So that looks like, I think, another driver error. Just trying to keep an eye on where the wheels are bouncing across. So far,
Heavy
off the track.
shunt.
The tyres have kept away from the track, thankfully, so I don't think anybody's going to be collecting anything. And yeah, another driver error, similar to David Q Park.
Ed Williams is just lacking downforce, and he pushed as hard as he could, but just overcooked it.
As a result, promotes Valdinger back into the points now in the Alfa Romeo, so he's now back up into 10th position, but he is now out of the race, and I think we are down to 18 runners as a result of that, as both Byrne and Mocho quickly pass by, as do Galloway and Quag, so yet we are now down to 18 runners in this Grand Prix, as meanwhile Roke now tries his best to close in onto Miklos Gal.
Federi and Martins are appearing to gain onto Valdinger in the meantime.
Yep, so clearly Aston Martin sensing that they could try and get some more points in this race, but in fact I think Martins has now got his tyres up to temperature because he was slower than Federi earlier on, but now he's got it up to temperature and he's now back on the prowl of his own teammate for P11.
Yep, he might have a great opportunity here. Let's see if he can get past him.
Martins now in the slipstream. The yellow flags have now been lifted at Parabolica. Martins now on the inside of Federi into the Ascari chicane. Can the Brazilian get the move done? And yes, he can. Martins up into P11, and the 2021 Formula 2 champion once again looking like he could be having another good race here at Monza.
Yeah, indeed. Meanwhile, Wilson has overtaken Sontag unseen by the cameras.
Yep, so Sontag drops another place, pretty much compounding Williams' misery so far this season. A chance to potentially get some points, but it's gone down the toilet. As Roke now breaks into the 1 minute 17, so 1 minute 17.842 for the Red Bull as he continues to close in onto the AlphaTauri of Miklos Gal.
Yep, indeed.
As meanwhile, still 1.8 between the two Mercedes drivers now. Then just trying to keep an eye on the bottom to see what the gap is like. In fact, between Gal and Roke, it is now only 7/10 of a second between those two. So a battle for 8th is starting to brew between the AlphaTauri and the Red Bull. I wonder if Gal will put up too much of a fight, given it is the Red Bull that he is fighting with, the senior team, of course, that he did used to drive for 2 seasons ago, and the team that he
Well,
got his last
he did
win
fight
today.
pretty hard in Silverstone, so I'm not sure, Joe.
I have to see because Roke is now on the outside and Miklos Gal got a flag into the second chicane. While Federi's out with a mechanical failure, a brake issue I think for Andre Federi, and just as he's been overtaken by Martins, he is out with a mechanical problem.
Not good for the home favorite here, braking failure, and he is out.
Yep, indeed, so that's race over him. Meanwhile, back to the battle for 8th place now between Gal and Roke going into the Parabolica now. Then we go. Is Roke going to get insane traction coming out of this final turn? I think he will do. Look at this. Right on the toe now of Gal, as now he's going to go onto the inside. Is Roke going to get the place? Look at the straight line speed that Roke has got. Clearly set that straight line speed up better than Gal did with his Honda engine.
That was easy.
Side by side. Down towards the first corner side. He's got the overlap already into the first chicane, and Roke is up into 8th position. He is making a comeback through the field.
Absolutely, I think the podium is definitely a possibility. If he has the pace to catch Patel and Perrion, of course.
Indeed. Meanwhile, Lopez has got it down to 1.7 now between himself and teammate Armar. So he took a 10th out as Krog is making a bit of a mistake there for into Parabolica, but thankfully he didn't go off the track there.
He's dipped a wheel into the grass there, but lucky escape.
Lucky escape there for the Frenchman, otherwise he could have been the latest casualty of Parabolica along with Kupok and Griffiths today. So yeah, that's that really. As now heading into the first chicane, we will go through the right, then into the left-hander. We will go on the racetrack as we look back now at Patel, trying to see if he can try and get a podium in today's race. If not, just looking at the gap between him and Perinin now, 5.7 seconds a gap. As meanwhile, Lopez is now starting to gain onto Carr because it's now down to 1.5 seconds.
Yep, Rogue is in the meantime 6.2 behind Klaus, so watch that gap because it should go down quite substantially over the coming laps. But George Roque is on a charge, that is for sure. Perrin is meanwhile 5.5 behind Patel.
Yep, indeed, as he just goes around the Curva Grande there, but he's back up to 1.7 now between Carr and Lopez. So Carr has responded a bit in the first sector there compared to Franco Lopez as they make their way through the two Lesmos on the racetrack, as the Mercedes do all they can to potentially try and make it, I think if I'm not mistaken, 3 wins in a row here at Monza, because they won here last season with Carr and the year before as well with Carr. And, well, Lopez does have a bit of bad memories in 2020, if you may remember, because he was in second place in that race, but then he made a mistake on the final lap of Parabolica and handed second place to Roland Motrin, you may remember.
Oh, I do remember that.
Yeah, indeed, and well, it was a bit of a shocking moment there, indeed, what happened there on the final lap with Lopez. But anyways, we now look at Carr, who's just coming around the Parabolica now then, and he now makes his way onto the pit straight to start lap 19 of the race now then, and let's see what the gap is like this time between himself and his teammate. 1.6 seconds of the gap, and well, with Lopez being behind somebody with a time penalty, this does actually remind me of a race that Lopez had in GP2 back in 2013. He was fighting Robert Hunter for the victory in that race, but he had a 5-second time penalty, so essentially what Lopez needed to do, which is essentially keep up for 5 seconds, and he would have got the victory, which is what he did. Of course, we haven't got to the pit stop stages yet, but so far this little thing that's going on here between these two kind of reminds me of a race Lopez had in GP2 a few seasons ago.
Yeah, in the meantime, Martins has caught up to Benz Wallinger. He's going to try to take the last points paying position away from him.
Yep, indeed, as Martins can sense maybe another points finish here. He's finished in the points of the last 2 races, and he can sense another one as Waldinger went defensive there going into the first chicane. And let's not forget, the Aston Martin started on the back row of the grid. I know there's been chaos, but still, they was there to capitalise, and they're now fighting for points again in this race. As now
Martins is going to go for it in towards Variante de la Roja. Waldinger closes the door, though. He's perfectly entitled to do that, and Martins is going to have to wait if he wants to make that overtake.
Possibly have to wait until the Ascari chicane to do that one. Technically, he finds himself in a Alfa Romeo sandwich because 7.3 seconds behind is Amelia Wilson, as now coming out of the second Lesmo we go, heading down the back straight, as Lopez now sets the fastest lap at 1 minute 17.804, so he's now getting the hammer down now in that in the Mercedes now then, as they now make their way into the Ascari chicane, go Waldinger and Martins, both of them of course coming from F2 of course last season, as now they make their way towards Parabolica now then on the racetrack. Is Martins going to try and maybe line up a pass into the final corner, or is he going to wait for the pit straight, I wonder?
He's going to wait.
He's going to wait for the pit straight to see if he can get it done into the first chicane. He's now right in the slipstream of the Alfa Romeo driver. He's going to go to the inside line as they now go side by side heading down the pit straight. Is Martins going to get the move done now then in the Aston Martin as he now makes his way towards the first chicane? I think he's just quite got the overlap as Kurisu's just said, and he has done indeed. So Martins now into the point and up into 10th place.
Yep, that's right. Meanwhile, Byrne is catching up to the back of Felix Sontag, so I expect him to be passed in a few laps. Meanwhile, the two Mercedes are getting closer together.
A 1.2 now is the gap between the two Mercedes drivers now then, so clearly Lopez not content with taking it from Carr on a technicality. He wants to get him on the road as Byrne now attacking Sontag for 12th, but Sontag closing the door there in towards that chicane as Byrne tries to put the Williams driver under a bit of pressure, who for the last few laps has just been going backwards ever since he was in the top 10.
Yep, indeed. Meanwhile, Patel is on a personal best lap, so let's see if he can improve. Yes, he can. His pace is quite solid, not matching the Mercedes, but he's not letting Pernin gain too much onto him. Pernin is only 4 seconds behind, and speaking of the devil, he's just at the fastest lap.
Yeah, I was just going to point that out, in fact, because it seems that Perinin is definitely gaining onto Patel, because the last time we checked, it was around about 5 seconds. It's now down to 4.7 between Patel and Perinin, so Perinin may be sensing a chance of a podium here today. As
Meanwhile,
Byrne
Byrne hasn't been able to overtake Zontag into there.
Indeed, as now we look back at this battle now, then is Byrne going to get good traction out of here? You would imagine so, given how set up that Red Bull is compared to the Williams. Coming out of Parabolica is straight on the inside of the Lamborghini-powered Williams. Side by side, Honda versus Lamborghini down the pit straight now. Then as Byrne again looks like he's topping out, but he's just got enough alongside to, I think, maybe break that a little bit later, which he is going to do, and Byrne is up into 13th position.
Yep, next target for him is, I think, the 2 Alfa Romeos.
Just seen also at the bottom as well that Kloss is now starting to get onto the back of Kirishima DeRosa, so looks like the Haas and the McLaren will start to fight soon for 6th position in this race as we now come around the Parabolica. And there we are then, so Kloss getting close, and they're even getting close to the back of Loa Chung as well. So Chung clearly struggling so far on this stint as more cars are starting to close up on her, as now coming around Parabolica is the Belgian Grand Prix winner, going to get the move done here on one of his former teammates from 2015, Kirishima DeRosa. Now heading down the pit straight we go. Kloss on the inside as the Ferrari engine in the back of the Haas compared to the BMW engine. He's got that set up perfectly for the straights. Down the inside goes the newly crowned race winner, and he's up into 6th place as Roke takes the fastest lap back and sets a 1:17.751.
Roke's gaining onto these people.
Is indeed, as he's actually just there. He's just come out of the first chicane, in fact, so he's not too far behind as a result. Meanwhile, Michael Mocho in the other Haas, it's now his turn to attack Felix Sontag as they now come out of Parabolica now then. Mocho on the inside of the Williams drivers. They make their way down the pit straight as I think he's already got the overlap on the Williams as a result. He has indeed. He's going to even wait for the corner to get the move done as they go side by side. And the answer to that is no. I think that's a little bit of humiliation there with the straight line speed of the Williams, and Mocho gets up into 14th position.
Lopez is gaining.
Still 1.2 though between the two Mercedes drivers coming out of Parabolica now. Then we go as they now make their way onto the pit straight to start lap 23 of the race. So including this lap, it will be 31 laps to go here at Monza, and it's 1.1
That's a personal best.
Yeah, but Lopez at the same time has taken a 10th out of him in that last sector, so it's now down to 1.1 seconds between the two Mercedes drivers, as it's now 2.9 seconds, made that 2.8 now between Patel and Perinin, so Perinin is starting to get the hammer down, and he's eating into Patel's lead.
Yep.
Obviously, both of them, of course, being teammates in GP2 back in 2020, so they both know each other pretty well. Another fastest lap for George Roke, a 1:17.693, so he's definitely flying in that Red Bull now then, as they now make their way in towards the left-right chicane on the racetrack. 2.8 seconds the gap now then between Patel and Perinin as they now make their way towards the two Lesmos. As using a bit of curb on the outside. As 1 second now the gap between Lopez and Carson. Lopez continuing to gain a bit. In fact, it's now under a second between them. It's now 9/10 between both Lopez and Carr now. Then so Lopez has got it to under a second now between himself and his teammate.
Yep, looks like his tire management is a little bit better today. As meanwhile, Chung is under attack from Bartosz Kloss, who's going to go for the move in towards Variante Ascari. Can he make it work? Let's see. He's got the inside line, but does he have the confidence on the brakes? Here we go. You can see Roke in the background as Kloss makes the move.
Indeed, and I was going to already answer your question of whether or not he's confident on the brakes, because we saw that in Belgium, of course, when he took the lead from Perinin. But Chung and DeRosa are now trying to make it 3 into Parabolica. I think Chung's had to back out, because now DeRosa's on the inside of Kloss, and he gets 5th place with ease. He said, thank you very much, I'll take that back, and now Chung has got the move done, because as Kloss got a problem.
Here comes Roke.
I think Kloss actually had a bad exit because now Roke is in the fray. Chung now back on the inside of Kirishima DeRosa heading into the first chicane. Roke with another fastest lap, a 1:17.5, but now down the inside goes Laura Chung. She reclaims 5th, and down the inside goes Roke. As in fact, DeRosa not having the best exit there. Roke back up to Sanford now. He's all over the back of the McLaren driver. He's already on the prow of him now as he might try and go around the outside into Curva Grande. Can he do a Sebastian Vettel style move into that corner? No, he won't, as he now goes back into his slipstream, maybe into the chicane. Can he get the move done? On the inside, Roke not wasting any time, and he's up into 6th place. 2 places in the space of a few corners for the former race leader, as now Kloss gets on the inside of DeRosa. Can he make it stick? But no, he can't. But already on lap 24, Roke is back up to 6th.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. He's driving with a lot of anger, having suffered that damage early on in the race, and he's determined to get back to the podium as his teammate overtakes Wilson to move himself up into 12th place. Here goes Bartosz Kloss. Can he make it work once again into Variante Ascari? Yes, he can once again.
He's up into 7th, but he's definitely not going to be happy losing a few places there during that whole scuffle. He's now got to get back up to George Roque, which I don't think he's got the pace for. So realistically, he's trying to get back onto Laura Chung if he can and try and get himself back into what will be 6th place, because you would imagine that Roque is going to get onto the back of Chung very, very soon in this race, but we'll wait and see. 1 second is still the gap between the 2 Mercedes drivers, as meanwhile we're looking at Galloway, who's also trying to make his way up back through the field, as he's now on the attack of Felix Sontag, who's continuing to go backwards, and Galloway now up into 15th place in the yellow Ferrari.
Yeah, not a good day for Ferrari, I'm afraid.
Chatfield being eliminated early on in the race, and Galloway having to make amends after he got damage on the first lap of the race. So that's that really, as it's now up to 1.1. So Carr starting to open up the taps a little bit in his Mercedes as he's getting the gap back up again between himself and his teammate.
It's hanging in that region, the gap. It's been pretty much the same for the past few laps.
Indeed, and well, it might actually come down to a pit stop really to see who will get ahead between the pair of them or not. We'll have to wait and see.
I think Lopez will jump him. Meanwhile, Roque is looking to jump Chung on the racetrack. Let's see if he can overtake her in towards Variante Ascari. No, he's going to wait at least until Parabolica.
Coming out of Ascari now, then we go, as now Roque is attacking the Lamborghini driver, pulls to the inside line. Clearly he's got a lot of confidence and have enough of a gap on the pit straight to hold on to the place, but Roque now on the inside of Lower Chung, but no, Chung holds on to the place, so Roque will have to try again onto the pit straight to get the Lamborghini driver, already pulling to the inside line. I wonder if Chung's got a lot of straight line speed, which is keeping her in front of George Roque at the moment as they go side by side, heading down towards the first chicane. Roque didn't have enough slipstream, gets back into the slipstream. Can he break that little bit later than the Lamborghini? Sure he can, and he gets up into 5th position. Clearly the Red Bull set up pretty well on the brakes, and Roque is up into 5th.
Yep, next target for him is a little bit further up the road. It's Jesus Perignon. Meanwhile, Patel will be coming into the pits at the end of this lap. The first scheduled stop of the day.
So will Jesus Perinen, so there will be a pit stop battle between Patel and Perinen here, and given the garages, you would imagine that Renault is going to have the advantage here, but it all really depends on how close Perinen is to Patel by the time they make the pit stop. Meanwhile, Wilson and Mocho are fighting for 13th place. I think Mocho overtook her, but Wilson has got the place back and is back up into 13th place, heading into that first chicane there. But anyway, back to the battle, I think, for third, because both of them are coming in at the end of this lap. Perinen has got it down to 0.9 seconds now between himself and Perinen, so we'll wait and see if the garage advantage is going to come into effect for Renault or not.
This isn't a battle for third, it's a battle for who will Roque overtake later.
Well, that depends if he gets there, although he is only 13.7 seconds behind the two of them, so a bit of work to do for Roque, but clearly with the pace he's shown today, it could be possible for him to do so, as now the Lamborghini and Renault mechanics get to work on both Perinen and Patel's car now. Then I would expect them to be fueled to the end, which they are, so a one-stop for those two, so it confirms my theory that most of them are on a one-stop today here at Monza, as Perinen, quite a long fuel load, and he's going to get the jump on Patel, and as a result, Perinen is now ahead as Roque set another fastest lap, so he's temporarily in third, of course, but we know that Roque does have to make another pit stop before the end of the race.
Yep. I think everyone except for Jamie Griffiths was on the one-stop, and Griffiths is out of the race, so everyone left is on that one-stop strategy.
Brennan rejoins in 8th and Patel rejoins in 9th. Meanwhile, Carr is coming into the pit at the end of this lap. Lopez will stay out to take the lead of the race, but I would imagine he'll probably pit the lap after Carr. But the race leader, on the road that is coming into the pits at the end of this lap.
Yep, indeed.
As they now make their way towards Parabolica now. There's a grey yellow flag. There's Kirsten with Rosa is out of the race. And just as McLaren once again looking at points, just like in Hungary, it's a suspension failure that's taking care of De Rosa. So once again, reliability hits the McLaren.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Meanwhile, Amar Carr is now into the pits for Mercedes, so Lopez now takes the lead of the race, but De Rosa adds the race from the points. That puts Valdinger back into the points as a result, but yeah, more reliability issues for McLaren this season. Carr finishes off his pit stop. It's a 7.2 second stop from the Mercedes mechanics, as now he's going to rejoin the race. Of course, he's on a one-stop as expected, like most of the field are, so that's that really. Roque with another fastest lap. He'll go through into second place for the time being, but of course he does need to stop. Through goes Chung, and through will go Kloss. Will he or not? Or Kloss might try and go for the move. As Kloss is going to go onto the inside into the chicane, and well, very close to contact. Carr had to back out there, and well, Carr not really ideal. That might help Lopez get the jump on him.
Lopez has the faster car at the moment, given his fuel that much lighter on tires that basically don't degrade. So he should be able to take the lead once he pits, but this is only helping him.
In fact, Lopez is actually continuing on for a few laps. I thought he was pitting a lap later than Carr, but clearly not. He did set a purple first sector, but lost time to Roke in that middle sector that time by. But now that Carr has got traffic in front, Lopez can get the hammer down and try and see if he can jump his own teammate.
Yeah.
As he will start lap 29. The race is pretty close to lapping Roman Quire very soon, who's never really recovered from the damage that he got on the second lap of the race. But we are now down to 16 runners as a result of De Rosa's retirement here at Monza, as now we go towards the Parabolica, and Kira's just pointed it out. There's no more Italians left in the race, so the Italian fans not particularly happy. But a few pit calls. I think Chung is coming into the pits at the end of this lap, as is Bartosz Kloss. So in fact, Carr will be relieved from those two.
Yep, that's right, and he will have some angry words about that Haas, but that's racing.
Yep, indeed, and I don't think Kloss was wasting any time, given he's trying to chase down this driver right here, Laura Chung. I do think Chung, of course, will have garage advantage because the Lamborghini is the closest to the first garage than what the Haas is at the moment, although that could be different next season, given where Haas are in the Constructors' Championship, although they are fighting with Lamborghini, Ferrari, and AlphaTauri for that as well. But
yeah,
they'll finish up. Yep, as it stays the same between those two. So Chung and Kloss finish off their pit stops. As now Galloway's trying to attack Wilson, it seems. Chung is going to emerge in, I think, 10th position. Just behind Mocho will go Bartosz Kloss. So, yeah, he rejoins behind his teammate. It's now Galloway.
Here goes Galloway. He's going for the inside. Can he make it work? No.
No, he can't, but that's that really. Mocho coming in at the end of this lap for Haas. He's actually trying to see if he can do his teammate a bit of a favour here, as he's now going to attack Laura Chung for 10th position as they now go side by side. And you know what? I think he's going to get it done here. Down the inside goes Mocho, and he gets the place off of Laura Chung there.
That was quite easy.
Indeed so, and because of the compromised line, it will allow Kloss to get a bit closer. Meanwhile, George Roke, he's coming into the pits for his final pit stop, and it'll be interesting to see how close he is to both Perrin and then Patel after his pit stop.
Yep, indeed, and in he comes. Of course, this was when he was supposed to make his first stop, but the gods had another idea for him. So this is his second stop, and it should take him to the end of the race. He's got 24 laps left in which to push and try to get onto the podium.
A 6.3 second stop from the Red Bull mechanics. A pretty quick stop from them indeed. Through goes Gal. Perrin and Patel should get through pretty soon, or will they? Because they haven't crossed the line yet. No, Perrin has. Patel shouldn't be too far behind either, which they have. So here comes Roke now. Then he's going to emerge in looks to be 7th place.
Just in front of Waldinger and Byrne. And Byrne is going to go for the move here. Roke is closing the door. Byrne goes through.
Oh, this is going to be close. There's contact between the two Red Bulls. Thankfully, it didn't end in disaster there, but I don't think Roke is going to be too happy there with Byrne. But Byrne has got the move done on Waldinger regardless, though. But that was too close for comfort there for the two Red Bull drivers.
Yeah, that was exceptionally aggressive. And Waldinger actually pushed Roke from behind.
Kind of did Roke a bit of a favour there then, really, to get him back ahead of Byrne. But yeah, I don't think Roke is going to take too kindly to that, because he's got some work to do now, because he needs to go after and chase down Perrin and then Patel if he can. But meanwhile, Waldinger, thanks to that collision, is now getting back on Byrne as a result, as they go around Curva Grande once again, and they now make their way towards the chicane. Lopez with the fastest lap of the race, and Waldinger retakes the place from Byrne as a result of all of that.
Yeah, Byrne's going to have to try again.
Indeed so, as meanwhile... that is Mocho finishing off his pit stop now then, as he will rejoin down in last position, because there's only 16 cars now left in the race. As no, that was a scheduled stop, I do believe, Yuri, because I did see the pit indicator for Mocho, although for some reason the mechanics are invisible. In fact, no, because the mechanics were late for Mocho. What is going on there with Haas? Were they a bit asleep there or something? Because I don't think Mocho's going to be happy with Haas about that one. Why on earth were they not ready for him?
Because they're still hungover from celebrating their Belgian victory.
Indeed, and well, Michael Mocho is definitely not going to be a happy man about that one. He's now down in last, and he's got a work to do as a result. Meanwhile, Franco Lopez is coming into the pits at the end of this lap.
He should be able to get the jump on Ka, given that he's just had the fastest lap, but we'll see.
As we look at Benz Waldinger now then, who's keeping up with George Rowe, but not in the slipstream of the Red Bull driver at this stage now. Then meanwhile, Martins is keeping up with Patel, which makes me think, is the degradation not that high around here? And if so, is it really down to fuel around here? Because is this why the fuel runners are attacking the guys who have just pitted? Because Martins is now getting by on Rahul Patel here for P5 as they go side by side. And Patel is losing a place to Martins, who is still yet to make a pit stop.
Yep. Meanwhile, Waldinger is still racing with Byrne. He's got him back.
Yeah, so those two once again swapping places at this stage. Wilson now into the pits, but now into the pits comes Franco Lopez for Mercedes. And where is he going to emerge in comparison to Armar Carr?
This should be interesting.
As he now makes his way into the pit lane now then, as Lopez now then will make his pit stop now then. As he puts on a fresh set of tyres, and fuel obviously going to the end of the race, because as mentioned, a majority of the runners, in fact I think all of them are now left or on the one stop, apart from Rook who've had to make two, and of course all the others have had damage as well. Carr is only coming up towards Parabolica, so Lopez is going to have quite a big lead here, because I think really the degradation and the fuel load is definitely worked into Lopez's hands here.
Yeah, the overcut is clearly stronger and Lopez leads by miles.
So Lopez now takes the lead of the Italian Grand Prix on the road.
It was never even close.
Indeed, rather than just on a time penalty. Meanwhile, Martins is coming into the pits at the end of this lap, so Patel will get back up into 5th. Byrne and Waldinger once again scrapping it out for 8th position as they now make their way down the pit straight, as Byrne is now going to get a run on the Alfa Romeo
This
drivers.
should be it.
As they go down the pit straight now, then side by side they go. Martins in the pits now then for Aston Martin. As now Byrne, is he going to get the move done on the Alfa Romeo? Danny inside, and yes he will. So Byrne up into P7 as Waldinger will be pitting at the end of this lap.
Yep, that's right. Byrne will be happy to get rid of that nuisance because Waldinger has been holding him up quite a lot over the past few laps. He's now free to chase after the next car. Meanwhile, I got yellows.
It's Jake Galloway, so both Ferraris are now out of the race. It's a disaster for the Tifosi, and Galloway is out now. Is that an accident? Because there's no mechanical failure on his steering wheel. I wonder if he's had a driver error into the second corner there.
Oh, dearie me. I think it is the case. We're gonna get confirmation. And... Yep, he has crashed.
Yep, so I think it's a driver error here for Jake Galloway, and it is. He had no one around him, so yeah, Galloway, that is, well, a bit of a clumsy error and pretty much compounds Ferrari's day here at Monza.
A disaster for the Italian team. The Tifosi are not going to like that one bit.
Clearly, the special livery not helping Ferrari at all today, and well, them going to their second popular colour has not worked out here at Monza, and well, both of them are out, and yeah, there's not apart, so it's only really now the Lamborghini and AlphaTauris that the Italians have got to cheer for now as a result.
Well, yeah, indeed. But I dare wager a lot of the Ferrari fans don't exactly like Lamborghini.
True, good point there. So it might be a split fan base. Meanwhile, Kloss is now on the inside of Loa Chung. This battle has now resumed, and Kloss has got the place into the Ascara chicane, and he moves up into 9th. I think it will be around about, I think, 6th or 5th, once everybody makes their pit stops, of course.
Should be.
But anyway, as now we look at Carr, who's now 8.9 seconds behind Franco Lopez now then, who is now out in front in his usual position. And, well, technically he's in third because of Gal, but of course Gal is still to make a pit stop. So I would imagine the gap that Carr has got to the guys...
Hang on a second, the gap to Perrin is just over 10 seconds. Perrin could actually get second from Carr here if he keeps pushing a little more.
I'll have to wait and see, of course, as... we'll obviously keep an eye on that one. It's hard to really tell at the moment because so far Gal is in between the pair of them. But Byrne, meanwhile, is pitting at the end of this lap for Red Bull. So that's that for him. He'll be pitting as meanwhile Kloss is now starting to get away from Loa Chung as both Sontag and Quag will be pitting at the end of this lap. Waldinger has just finished his pit stop. He rejoins in 13th ahead of teammate Wilson as it's now up to 9.1 seconds now between Lopez and Armar Carr as Miklos Gal is in the background there. Although I do wonder when the AlphaTauri is going to start to make his pit stop. That's something to keep an eye on there, and then we can keep an eye on what's going on between Carr and Perinen, really. At the moment, I think Carr is just ahead on the road, as for some reason, that Marshall has got a bit of a death wish coming out of Parabolica there, because for some reason, I don't think somebody has told him that there's no lead to wave a green flag anymore.
In my country, we call that confidence.
Yeah, indeed, and, well... That's that, really, as now we go towards the left-right chicane on the racetrack, as now
Lopez laps to go.
We have got 20 laps, including this one in this race. We're on lap 34.53. Byrne now into the pits for his final pit stop as he tries to see if he can try and salvage something, whilst his arch rival Franco Lopez, who had a crash with, of course, at the Belgian Grand Prix, is in the way. Gal, meanwhile, is pitting at the end of this lap, so he will hand third place back to Jesus Perinen as a result.
Yep.
And I do think Carr is technically ahead of Perinen on the road. So, yeah, he is over 10 seconds ahead. So, technically, Carr will be in second place once Gal makes his pit stop with that penalty he's got, as now Gal makes his way into the Ascari chicane. And we'll see him pit very soon. Meanwhile, Roke is now not too far behind Rahul Patel. The gap is only 1.9 seconds between the pair. And we talked about whether or not Roke can get a podium or not. Well, he's not too far away from that.
Yeah.
Kurisu there was a bit late to respond to me there. I was wondering what on earth happened.
Yeah,
But,
sorry, I
anyway.
was looking at something else.
Meanwhile, Miklos Galli's now into the pits for Alpha Tauri, so Perinen will get up into third, then it will be Patel who will get up into fourth, and then Roke into fifth, who is chasing down the Lamborghini driver. As let's see how quick this stop is going to be then from the Alpha Tauri mechanics, as, well, for some reason, the animation's not working for the Alpha Tauri, but it is still working for him, so a 4.2 second stop from the Alpha Tauri mechanics. Well,
that explains it. Meanwhile, what is the gap between Bernian and Ka? It should be in the range of 10 seconds, and it is 11.9 actually. Ka is pulling away.
For some reason, there's a graphic glitch on Gal there, so you might have to pause and try again. So, yeah, there you go. Front wing's back on there. But, yeah, a bit of a weird one there, as now you've just redone the glitch there. But there we go. Back to the action, as now, in fact,
got
Gal
his
came
front
out...
wing back now.
Meanwhile, Gal actually did rejoin in front of Laura Chung, interestingly. So Miklos Gal rejoins in 7th place, and he's behind Barch's Kloss. And he is on fresher tyres, now on similar fuel loads to those guys. So
Roke has got Patel.
he has indeed 0.8 seconds of the gap between those two as they now make their way towards the Ascari chicane now then on the racetrack. As now we come around here and look at how much confidence that Roke has got around the Ascari now. This is right onto the back of the Lamborghini driver now. Then he's going to pull to the inside line. Is he going to make the move stick on the Lamborghini now? Then side by side they go. Can he get later on the brakes, or is he going to have to wait for the pit straight? No.
Yes.
He's going for Parabolica, and Roke is up into 4th place. But can Patel try and get him back onto the pit straight, because he is still in the slipstream of the Red Bull here?
Well, let's see. He's gaining in the slipstream, but I think Roke has done just about enough to stay in front. 365 kilometers an hour for the Lamborghini, though Patel is thinking about sending it. He is going to send it after all, and he gets past Roke. He's not going to have it so easy.
Yep, so Roke is going to have to try again on the Lamborghini driver, as there's a lot of marshals out there who are feeling a little bit brave today, it must be said. But because there's one now at the exit of... you can see
I just wanted to point out in the meantime, Roke is only 8 seconds behind where Kai is going to be with his penalty. Roke could sense a chance at second.
Perhaps indeed, as now coming around the first Lesmo, there go Roke and Patel now. They're heading into the second Lesmo. We go on the racetrack as they now make their way down the back straight now. Then we go. Roke is going to try and go for it into the Ascari chicane, as he's now going to flick it to the inside line. Roke on the inside of Rahul Patel. Can he get the move done into the Ascari chicane? And yes, he can. Roke up into 4th position, and this time I think he should be able to do it, because he's now got a bit of a gap to the Lamborghini driver. So he's now up to 4th. Next target for him, Jesus Perinen and the Renault.
Yep, that's right. I will want to keep an eye on the gap between himself and Ka, because there is a chance he can get himself within 10 seconds of the Brit. Of his fellow Brit, I mean.
Indeed, and of course, Roke and Ka still yet to get a victory in 2022, and it looks like that's going to stay for a while, I'm afraid, for various reasons. But anyway, as Lopez coming up to some traffic and he's having to negotiate around, as he comfortably leads the way at the moment in the Mercedes as he makes his way down the straight. And now approaching the Ascari chicane will go the Argentine now then, as he'll soon be lapping Amelia Wilson before then lapping Michael Mocho right there. 6.9 seconds the gap between Perinen and Roke meanwhile. To make that 6.7 as, ooh, Kloss had a bit of a moment there going around Curva Grande there. Clearly feeling a little bit weird to have a bit of an oversteer moment through into there. So, yeah, a little bit bizarre there from the Haas driver, it must be said. But he's still keeping the gap between himself and Gal at the moment, who's still got Laura Chung right behind him at the moment. Meanwhile, Wilson trying to unlap herself, in fact, with Franco Lopez. She's clearly not satisfied. I think it's because she wants to try and chase down Michael Mocho in front. But Lopez is not going to be happy with this if Wilson successfully does this. And she does do indeed. Lopez is not going to be happy that the Alfa Romeo unlapped herself.
Yep, indeed. And Lopez goes through the marshal there, but he's got nothing to worry about. He's got a healthy gap. He's going to win this race. He just has to bring it home.
Be careful what you say there, Rob, because what happened yesterday with Formula 2? I want to
Oh
point
yeah,
that
I
out.
remember.
So I just want to point that out. So anyway,
Well, if something happens to Lopez, then it's on you.
well, you said it, not me. So, coming out of the second Lesmo now, then we go. As now Lopez finally puts a lap on Wilson, although I do wonder if Wilson is going to do the same thing a little bit later on. Excuse me, my voice is kind of went away a bit there. But anyway, 10.5 seconds of the gap now, thanks to all of that. But we're more interested in what's going on. Meanwhile, Byrne is in the points, meanwhile, as he is now onto the back of Juventus Martin. So just looking around at what he could do. Not really sure where Byrne could end up. Could he potentially maybe get up to around about where Gal, Chung, and Kloss can? Or is that going to be too much of a reach, I wonder?
Don't think he has the pace. I think he's going to have to sell for 9th after he overtakes Martins.
Indeed, as meanwhile we look at Perinen, and who's got a 5.8 second cushion to George Roque, who's just come out of Ascari there. You can just see in the background there. So that's the gap you can see there between Perinen and Roque as a result. As meanwhile we look at Valdingo, who's currently in 11th place. Meanwhile, Byrne is now onto the back of Juventus Martins now then, as he's going to look to the outside of the Aston Martin now then, as not completely wise, but he's going to flick it back to the inside. Is Byrne going to get P9 here off the Aston Martin? And the answer to that is no. Martins holds on to the place, and Byrne has to back out and has lost all the momentum in the world as a result of that. As now Lopez will come up to lap Michael Mocho now in just a little bit, as they now make their way down the straight before heading towards the Ascari chicane. And
Mocho shouldn't make it too difficult.
Yep, well, you never know, of course. It really depends on where Lopez actually puts the lap on Mocho, of course, as we've seen with Wilson just a little bit earlier on. 5.5 seconds now, the gap between Perinen and Roque, meanwhile, as Roque is now...
Roque is not gaining onto Ka, so that's interesting. I think Ka is safe for second.
Yes, indeed, as now we make our way towards the Parabolica now then, as Lopez is now going to put a lap here on Michael Mocho, so through he goes. And so Mocho had to lift a little bit there. It will allow, I think, Wilson to close up just a bit as a result, because of the fact that Mocho still having to get up to racing speed. As now coming around the chicane we go. As now Byrne still hasn't been able to get Martins at the moment, as we saw earlier on, as he tried to get him into the Ascari chicane by going to the outside.
He's going to try again.
Let's see if he can try it this time as he's in the slipstream, once again opting to go for the outside now then. Clearly that Red Bull's got more in the tank than what the Aston Martin has, but he kind of ruins that when he doesn't go for the move, and as a result he once again has to back out, and once again clearly not learning from the previous lap, and once again losing the momentum to Martins as a result.
That car is derating at the end of straights. He's losing some performance in a straight line, and maybe that's why he can't overtake so easily.
Maybe indeed, as Lopez now they're making his way around the Ascari chicane. Just trying to work out whether it's Roque or Lopez that's got the fastest lap of the race. It's one of those two, I know that for a fact.
Has to be Roque, I think.
So I'm trying to work out what it would mean for the Drivers' Championship if it were to stay like this at this stage, as now Lopez is just coming around the Parabolica, as 12.1 seconds he's now got to Armar Car at the moment. He's got a comfortable gap to Perinen, 13.5 seconds to be exact, so technically 3.5 thanks to his 10-second time penalty. So yeah, that's that really, as he comes out of Parabolica, as now he's actually soon going to be coming up to that bit of traffic very soon that we saw a little bit earlier on. So yeah, that's that really, as now he makes his way towards the first chicane. And now it's 4.8 seconds now, the gap between Perinen and Roque. So Roque is definitely still gaining at the moment onto Perinen. But I think...
he will catch him. Meanwhile, here goes Byrne, 3rd time's the charm, perhaps?
And it will be this time. He was a little bit more patient. And Byrne finally gets up into 9th. Although he might have wrecked his exit coming out of Ascari. And Martins may try again to attack the Red Bull here, as they go side by side, heading towards the Parabolica. And but Martins backs out of that one, so we'll have to wait and see if Martin can maybe try and get a run out of Parabolica now then as they come around the final turn. But look at the amount of traction that Byrne had, but is it still enough for Martins to get slipstream here on the championship contenders? They now make their way onto the pit straight now then. Martins on the inside, is he going to reclaim the place? And you know what, I think he is, and wow. Martins is going to reclaim 9th place, so Byrne once again frustrated by this Aston Martin.
Yep, it's definitely taking him a lot longer to pass than I would have expected.
Indeed so.
Is it just me, or does the Marshal keep moving left slightly every single lap?
think it does, yeah. I think I've seen this in other races as well, where for some reason it likes to move slightly to the left. But meanwhile, Quark fending off from Felix Sontag here. So Quark,
His
as mentioned,
potential future teammate who goes for the move.
goes up into 14th place as he gets the move done out of the first chicane there. And clearly, as we talked about a bit earlier on, Quark clearly has not recovered from that damage that he had on lap 2 and has really struggled since then.
Yeah, indeed. Meanwhile, Byrne, V Martins, round 4. Can he get him this time? And this time, yes. But are we going to
we
have a
have
repeat? Oh, Martins has gone off track.
Yep, so they were very close together, but Martins clearly ran out of road, and well, Byrne takes 9th place of ease there as a result.
Martins really thought that he could keep that Red Bull behind for the rest of the race, but he's overcooked it here.
He was very close to not hit the side of the Red Bull there, but Byrne now up into 9th, and there's now a bit of a gap now between the pair of them as a result, and I think Byrne will now start to pull away from the Aston Martin as a result.
Yeah.
As now we look at Quark, who's actually trying to catch back up now to Felix Sontag as they now make their way through the Ascari chicane. And Quark might actually try and reclaim the place off the Williams driver here, as they're actually not too far behind. I think that's Amelia Wilson in front, so they could actually try and get. Meanwhile, it looks like the Mercedes there of Armar Car is pretty close to lapping them very soon, as Quark retakes 14th there from Felix Sontag, although Sontag might actually try and get him back here onto the pit straight like we saw on the previous lap.
Rook is just 3.5 behind Perrin, and he's definitely gaining.
Meanwhile, Sontag now then, is he going to reclaim the place off of Roman Quark now then, as he's now getting onto the inside line, and Sontag I think is going to reclaim the place, and he is. Sontag back up into 14th position.
Yep, that's right, and he's taking that place. Meanwhile, Quag is getting blue flags for our Marca, who is coming through. In the meantime, Gal has caught up to the back of Klaus. We were talking about this after he pitted, that he could be in the fight with Klaus for 6th. Well, it is. The guys who finished 1st and 2nd in Belgium are racing each other for 6th now.
Yep, indeed, although Gal not close enough to get Klaus on that occasion, so he might have to wait a little bit longer around the track to see if he can try and pull a move off on the Haas driver there. Excuse me. As meanwhile, car is now coming up to the back of both Quark and Sontag now then, as he'll soon be coming up to lap the pair of them very, very soon as they make their way into Ascari now then, as Quark is actually trying to line up Sontag again for a move into 14th place, clearly not content being behind a Williams in this race, in what has been a disastrous race for the Frenchman now then. As now they make their way towards Parabolica. They've already got blue flags indicated to them, so Carr is approaching them pretty quickly. But can Quag get the move done on Sontag before Carr puts a lap on them? Let's see. So Quag now then on the inside of Felix Sontag as head down the pit straight, and it looks like he's got the straight line speed to match it. And I think he's going to get the move done. And yes, he is. Didn't even need to wait for the corner. And Quag back up into 14th position.
Yep, that was a nice fight.
Our car, I think, will soon be lapping those two in just a little bit. As meanwhile, Gal once again trying to attack Barcher's Kloss for 6th position now. Then, so the fight for 6th is well and truly on between these two as they now make their way around the Parabolica on the racetrack, heading onto the pit straight. Can Gal get the move done on Barcher's Kloss now? Then he's going to go to the inside line with 10 laps to go when they cross the line, of course. As now Gal on the inside of Barcher's Kloss. I think he's going to have it done because they're going side by side, heading down towards that first chicane, late on the brakes, and Gal gets the place. So Miklos Gal up into P6, and he could be on for 8 championship points here at Monza.
He's not that far behind Patel. If we had a few more laps, I was asking if he could catch him, perhaps.
We'll have to wait and see as a car now puts a lap on Felix Sontag, and now he'll have to lap Roman Quark pretty soon now then, as he just makes his way out of the Ascari chicane. As now approaching Parabolica now then, we will soon approach.
But I need to be careful and not lose too much time with these back markers, because he's got a 14-second gap to Perignon, which is... You have to be careful, he's just thrown it into the wall.
He's crashed out of the race. Armar Car is out of the Italian Grand Prix. A mistake there from the Mercedes driver. I'm just looking where that wheel is going on the edge of the track, but Armar Car has bottled 2nd place, and a Mercedes 1-2 has gone down the toilet.
Well, that's commentator's curse. I said he had to be careful, and he does this.
Indeed, so that's that really, but Armar Car is out of the race and we are down to 14 runners, so Perinin is now up into 2nd, so the fight now between Roke and Perinin will now be for 2nd place.
Yep, that's right, and Roke could get 2nd after all.
Yep, indeed, and well, a huge error
there. This is
there
promoting Valdegern into the points meantime.
Yep, indeed. As meanwhile, as a result, so that Gao will now get up into 5th place. As a result, Kloss into 6th. Who's going to get into the points now as a result of all this? So that
Ballinger.
means Valdinga is going to get into the points in the Alfa Romeo, so he could be looking at another championship point there for him after he got points last time out in Belgium. But as a result, we are now down to 14 runners, the same amount of runners we had at the Belgian Grand Prix, of course, if you count, of course, Jesus Perinen, who was, of course, classified in the final results as a result. And speaking of Perinen, he'll soon maybe have to keep an eye on George Roke. But so far, Roke, although he's gaining onto him, he's not got onto the back of him as quickly as we were expecting him to be.
No, definitely not.
Through into the Parabolica now, then we will go as they now make their way towards, well, they're going now then as these guys are into the Parabolica as now car gets hoisted over the barriers now then, and well, that's his race done with, and he'll be kicking himself, and he's now going to lose ground in the Drivers' Championship as a result, with Lopez now in the lead of the Grand Prix, and well, that's that really, as Wilson now then making her way down towards the first chicane on the racetrack, as now through the right and left-hander we go, as she's currently in P12 now, 7.6 seconds behind Michael Mocho, who's now just a place away from the points now, is the Haas driver, as Lopez will soon be coming up to lap Bence Valdinga, as now just keep an eye on it, the gap now 2 seconds now between Perinen and Roke, so it's getting pretty close now between those two, as Roke, I think in about a few laps time, will start to be on the back of the Renault driver.
Yep, that's right, and I think it'll be a fight to the checkered flag, as in the meantime Lopez is saying another personal best.
Yep, indeed, as here is Perrin now then, as he's now 1.9 seconds ahead of...
Oh, Martins, he's having a moment here into Parabolica.
He's kept it tied, he's just about avoided that, and he holds on to 9th place. A bit of a scare there for the Aston Martin driver, but he keeps going, and well, 9th and 10th, basically the same as what it was in Belgium, really. Martin's in 9th, and Valdinga in 10th position, so...
the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Indeed, as Lopez sets the fastest lap now, then a 1 minute 17.134, so now he grabs the bonus point for the fastest lap of the race, just as he puts a lap there on Bence Valdinga, a little bit too close for comfort there, if you ask me. But anyway, in terms of what that would mean now, for the championship, so if it were to stay like this, with Byrne in 8th and Lopez leading with the fastest lap, it would mean as a result that Lopez would actually now increase his lead to 25 points in the Drivers' Championship, so exactly a victory would be between Lopez and Byrne going into the Portuguese Grand Prix next week.
Yep.
As now, meanwhile, it's 1.5 seconds now between Perrin and Roke, as we are now looking at the Renault driver, as they now come out of the chicane on the racetrack. As now heading towards the Curva Grande now then, and let's see if Roke is going to gain a little bit more onto the Spaniard at the end of the first sector or not, because the camera decides it wants to cut away just as Lopez comes out of the Ascari chicane there, as he will start lap 48 of the race very, very soon now then here at Monza. As now we look at Quarg, who's now onto the back of Emilia Wilson here. So Quarg on the inside of the Alfa Romeo driver, and he takes P12 V's there. So Quarg up into 12th place, although Wilson is still keeping up with the Renault driver here.
I don't think she's given up just yet.
Yeah, indeed, as now she's going back onto the inside now of Roman Quarg, getting into the Parabolica now then, and Quarg holds on to 12th place as a result of that, as now Wilson will try again onto the pit straight as they go side by side, heading onto that pit straight, actually got enough straight line speed to reclaim the place of the Frenchman now then, and I don't think so. She has. But she's going to try
she's going to dive.
She thought about it, but Quarg holds on to the place, and she holds on to 12th as Wilson's line now compromised through into the chicane as a result, and Quarg will now just pull away as a result, you would imagine.
Yep, absolutely right. He's got much better pace in his car. Meanwhile, Lopez is just managing the gap. He's done nothing wrong all race. I was talking to you, if you remember, Joe, right before the race start. I said, somehow Mercedes is going to find a way to win this, and Lopez is going to win this. He's going to win big.
At the moment, yes, unless he decides to bin it at Parabolica like he did 2 seasons ago. But anyway, as I just noticed there whilst you were talking about that, the gap is now under a second between Perrin and Roke. So it's now 0.9 seconds.
We have a fight.
And here we go then. We have the fight for second place now then here on lap 48 of 53. As now Roke will try and line up the Renault driver for a pass for second place now then as they make their way towards the Ascari chicane. Of course, Roke's favourite position this season has been second place. He's got a lot of second places this season as Roke, and he might add another one to his collection if he can find a way through on the Renault driver here.
That should be a fun ride. Let's see. His first overtaking opportunity will be into the Retifilio, the first chicane. Let's see if he's gonna get close enough.
Yeah, the Parabolica now, then we will go as Roke will now try and line up a move on the Renault driver, heading down the first chicane now. Then he's in the slipstream of the Renault driver. He's going to go to the inside. Can he pull the move off the Spaniard as they go side by side, heading down towards that first chicane? It's Roke versus Perenin for second place. Down the inside, and Roke has got the move done. George Roke up into second place, and I think, judging for the traction, he's going to get away. So pretty easy done.
Yeah, brilliant.
Great recovery for him after losing his front wing earlier on. He is back up into second place.
He'll definitely feel like he deserved to win this race, and he drove quite well. Him and Lopez were the fastest cars on track, and Roke has fought back through the field and he's now in second place where he's been so many times this season.
Indeed, and unless something happens to Lopez, I think he's going to stay in second place as a result, because Lopez is way too far in front now for George to do anything in this Grand Prix, as now we've got 4 laps to go, speaking of which, for race leader Franco Lopez, as he's got a very big lead now in front of Lopez, although we can't quite see it because the death panel for some reason wasn't telling us, which is a bit rude. But
Yeah.
anyway, as now Lopez is just coming around Curva Grande now then on lap 50 of the race, as he'll now come up towards the second chicane on the racetrack now then, as he'll soon be coming up now to lap Yantamaz. We look now at all the movers in this race. So 6 places gained for Lopez, 12 for Martin, so good effort for him there after he started in 21st on the grid. So 6 for Valdinger, 5 for Kloss, 8 for Gal, good effort, 7 for Perinen, 6 of course for Lopez. Rote loses a place because of course he had that damage, 1 for Patel, also 3 for Chung, and 6 for Byrne of course, who also got damage earlier on in the race and has only been able to recover into 8th place, which if it stays like this will mean that Lopez will have a 25-point lead in the Drivers' Championship. Perenin's still keeping up, but he's nowhere near Roke at the moment. It's now up to a second now between the pair, and I think Perenin will just be content with 3rd place, which, to be fair to him, given what happened to him yesterday, it's to be fair to him, given what happened to him yesterday in qualifying, I think he will be satisfied with a podium here today.
Yeah, definitely.
And all ready to try and help him out, of course, in his fight for one of the Mercedes seats next season. Of course, Perinin arguably should have had a podium last race in Belgium before, of course, he dropped it at Pouon, of course, and handed the podium to Gal and teammate Quarg as a result. So, yeah, that was that. And Perinin looking for redemption here, and he's just got to keep this up for about 3 and a bit laps here at Monza. As speaking of, Lopez, meanwhile, is also trying to get redemption for what happened in Belgium last time out. Is now on the back of Martins and will soon be lapping the Aston Martin driver pretty soon.
Yep, indeed.
As now coming around the second Lesmo, we will go on the racetrack now then, as Lopez looking in total control out in front at the moment, as he now...
Interesting fact, by the way, thanks to Nathan. As it stands, Roke and Ka will be tied for 3rd in the championship, with Roke ahead on countback.
Yep, so those amounts of second places that he's had this season, I think, will definitely come in handy, it's fair to say.
Of course, this is a fight for the second Red Bull seat alongside Evan Byrne, because Ka wants that seat and Roke wants to be retained, so I can imagine whoever finishes ahead in the championship will get that spot.
You could think that, but I think as well it all really depends on their performances throughout the season, of course, for their individual teams, not just on what the championship is going to look like. But it could be an indicator.
Fair enough.
That is for sure. Could be an indicator, though, that is for sure. But anyway, as coming out
crash to Felix.
Yes, that's for anybody who's just joined there. But anyway, as Lopez has just started the penultimate lap of the race now, then he's just not got that far to go now for what will be, I think, his 6th victory of the season. As now... out of Parabolica goes Jesus Perinin now then, as those 2 brave marshals are still out on the racetrack for some weird reason, but clearly they still got stuck after the likes of I think it was not with Carr, it was the car, it was who crashed before Carr at Parabolica. Griffiths, of course, that was it. Griffiths, who obviously crashed out, and Galloway. It seems that those marshals have got stuck there ever since for some strange reason, but at least they're not affecting the racing, that is for sure. But anyway,
Yeah,
Coming around the second chicane, there we go, as Roke is now getting the gap up to 2 seconds now between himself and Perrin, as he's looking very comfortable in second place, although, like what we saw in South Korea earlier on in the season, he's probably kicking himself that he could have lost out on the victory, and ironically enough, it was Franco Lopez that day who inherited the win at South Korea earlier on in the
Yeah.
season, and speaking of which, Franco Lopez has just started his final lap here at Monza. Arguably, you could say this is a lucky victory for Franco Lopez, but when Roke got it, was when Roke had his damage, really. He looked very quick afterwards, and he's looked in total control ever since the pit stops.
Nobody who wins by 30 seconds is lucky, it's deserved.
Indeed, and Lopez, of course, he's looking good to get what I think will be his 6th victory of the season, and he will, of course, increase his lead at the top in the Drivers' Championship. And I do think as well, Mercedes will also increase their lead at the top in the Constructors' Championship
For
as
25
well.
points.
I think it's something like that anyway. Oh, 25 points for Lopez, yes, but for Mercedes, I'm not 100% sure. We'll double
It
check
is
on
the
that.
same, Nathan posted it.
Oh, okay, well, I'll obviously double check that, of course, anyway, after this, because I'm pretty sure it was 21 points between the pair of them going into
Anyway,
this. So
Lopez is about to finish the race.
yes, he is indeed. So we'll work that out in a little bit with the constructors. Franco Lopez now then comes around the Parabolica now then for the 53rd and final time. And it's just been another brilliant race for Lopez. He inherited the lead after jumping car on the pit stops and also with Roca having his damage. But as he comes down the pit straight, it is going to be Franco Lopez who wins the Italian Grand Prix here at Monza. It's his
Great
6th
job.
victory of the season from 7th on the grid. And he increases his lead at the top in the championship.
Yeah, Wallinger is going to finish 10th. He gets another point. Mocho finishes 11th, misses out. And Quag will have to sell for P12.
Indeed, as Roman Quad P12, he never really recovered from that as a result, so no points for him. Amelia Wilson will cross the line in 13th position. Only 4 races left now in her top-class career, as George Rote will get second, a great recovery, but I think he feels the win could be there. Perinen gets revenge for what happened in Spa and picks up a podium here at Monza. Stontag has got damage on the final lap of the race.
How did this happen?
To him? As we're going to have a look at the replay to see what on earth happened here with Felix Sontag. Why on earth has he got damage? As it must have happened somewhere on the track. And, he actually came out of the final corner there and he wasn't able to make a pit stop because I think he passed the pit entrance, or unless he just decided, you know what, I'm just going to go to the finish with no front wing at the end because there was only one more lap and he made a driver error coming out of Parabolica there.
Either way, he won't be feeling happy about that.
Yep, indeed, but he was last anyway, so he will cross the line in 14th position. Will Felix Sontag, he kind of fell backwards, really, after the opening lap. So, yeah, P14 for him, as it's going to be P4 for Rahul Patel. More points for him. He'll be satisfied with that one. P5 for Miklos Gal, satisfactory for him. Same with Barcher's Class, back to reality, but he'll still be satisfied with 6th in the Haas regardless. Laura Chung in 7th to ensure a double points finish for Lamborghini today in P7. So once again, finishing every race that she's finished this season in the points, as Evan Byrne will cross the line in 8th and, never really recovered really, and he loses points to Lopez as a result. But your winner for the 6th time this season is Franco Lopez in the Mercedes, and he increases his lead at the top in the Drivers' Championship. Could a 3rd World Championship be coming for Lopez this season, I wonder, before he heads off to Toyota? But here are your final results then from the Italian Grand Prix. Franco Lopez wins the race from George Roque, who will feel a little bit bitter in 2nd place, with Jesus Perinen in 3rd. Rahul Patel, a brilliant 4th for him, with Miklos Gal in 5th. Bartosz Klos is in 6th, with Laura Chung ensuring a double points finish for Lamborghini in 7th, with Evan Byrne losing points in the championship in 8th, with Joantis Martins, more points for Aston Martin in 9th, and Bens Valdinga once again picking up the final points place for Alfa Romeo in 10th position. Followed by Michael Mocho, who misses out on points in 11th, thanks to more damage in the end, and you can do the rest, Kurisu.
Okay, sure. Roman Quag is in P12, Amelia Wilson 13th, Felix Sontag 14th, and he's the last of the finishers. The DNFs are Armar Ka with a crash, Jake Galloway with a crash, Kirshima De Rosa with a suspension failure, Andrea Federi with a braking failure, Jamie Griffiths, David Kilpack, Chris Chaffel, and Joseph Willows all with crashes as well.
Indeed, and the fastest lap of the race went to Franco Lopez, so along with the 25 points he gets for victory, he also gets the bonus point for the fastest lap of the race, so 26 points going the way to the 2-time world champion. Well, to celebrate Franco Lopez and Mercedes' achievements, we will now hear the national anthems of Argentina and of Germany. Alrighty then, well that has been it from the Italian Grand Prix, and well, as we expected, Kurisua, a lot of drama throughout the race.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a pretty chaotic race, but at the end of the day, the top two was not that unpredictable.
Indeed, although I do think George Roke will still feel a little bit bitter that another victory has slipped away from him there. Well, there you have it then. That has been it from the Italian Grand Prix here at Monza. I hope you have enjoyed it. A very, very exciting race indeed. And, well, who knows really what the rest of the season has in store for us, of course. But that has been it then. I hope you enjoyed it. The next top class race will, of course, be on next week at the Portuguese Grand Prix at Portimao for the final European race of the season. Because, of course, the races after that will be outside of Europe. Of course, there's no DTM this week because... of course, that's having a week break. DTM will be back next weekend instead over at Montreal in Quebec, Canada. And, of course, Formula 2 will also be on next week as well at Portimao. So do look forward to that. Along, of course, with Formula E, which will take place at Mazzano for the Rimini E-Prix, the first ever Rimini E-Prix for them. So do look forward to that. But until then, guys, that has been it. I hope you have enjoyed it. So thank you all for watching. I'm JW97. He's been Kurisu, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.